Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Shep and Reach. I'll be doing my romance recommendations. So if you're new to this channel, please don't hesitate to subscribe down below. I'm excited to dive into all the books that I am recommending to you guys that are romances. I don't think I have ever done a romance related recommendations video ever like on this channel, so I'm excited to kind of like recommend a few. But what I did notice after going through my books and seeing what I recommend, I don't read a lot of romances, and a lot of romances I do read, I'm like, it's okay, like it's good, I liked it, but it's not like amazing. But I'm happy to kind of go through these books. I have 5 books over here that I think are actually really good, and I definitely recommend it to you guys for romances. So the first book is actually a book I did read recently, and that is a pho love story. This book is actually so incredibly cute. I thought that the romance was really well done with the characters. This basically follows 2 characters where their family actually owns like neighboring pho restaurants that are they're competitors, and so they grew up with their parents kind of like hating on each other, and they've always known that basically you can't, you know, like that they're the enemy, right? Like that's the enemy, you don't go through them, you don't ever associate with them whatsoever. And of course these 2 teenagers go to school together, and so one day they end up getting paired together for some sort of assignment, some sort of like extracurricular by a mutual friend. And so things kind of happen between the 2 of them, and the romance is actually really cute. But what they've also noticed, or what they suspected from a long time ago, is that there must be more to this feud between the 2 families than just the fact that they are neighboring competitors for their restaurants. So as they try to like dig deeper, find out like what the history is, I thought this book was incredibly well done. Like I said, the romance was really adorable. I really liked the cultural aspect to it as well, because there were so many delicious like Vietnamese food that was mentioned here that sounded so good. So there was a lot of food, a lot of information. I thought it was so good. Like I felt very like hungry while reading this book, because there were just so many like good pho that was mentioned, a lot of like, you know, just like Vietnamese food that was mentioned. I don't want to try to attempt to say it because I would like butcher the names for those, but it was a really good book. If you're looking for a really cute like romance with great like character development, with some sort of like family like history as well as really good food, I highly recommend this book. Then my next recommendation is One Last Stop. I feel like a lot of people have recommended this book to you guys, but I actually really enjoyed it. I do think that this book wasn't like a 5-star read, but it's definitely up there. But that's because I feel like I went into it expecting just a romance, and it's more than that. This book is very heavily focused on a mystery element as well as the romance. This book basically follows these 2 girls who ends up meeting, and they meet together on a train, and before long they end up falling in love. But the thing is, one of them, Jane, is actually displaced in time, where something happened to her many years ago, and she's now stuck in some sort of loop, and she's only like visible to people on this train. She cannot leave the train, she can't go anywhere else, she's stuck there for an indefinite amount of time, and she still looks like she has not aged a day, even though when she was alive it was many years ago. And so there is a whole mystery element in terms of like what happened to her, and how, you know, why did this happen, how to get her back to her own time, like how to fix this, while also having a whole love story. And I thought the romance was incredibly well done. I really liked the 2 of them as main characters, and I don't know, I just felt like there's a lot of like adorable moments while reading this book. So if you're looking for a really adorable book with some sort of like mystery element, supernatural element into it as well, highly recommend this one. If you also like meet cute situations, I think this is also a really good book as well. All right, then my next recommendation is actually like a series, and that is the Off-Campus series. Honestly, these books were so good. These are new adult books, very smutty. Well, not very smutty, but like there's definitely a lot of smut in there, and it follows these college students where things happen. This whole series basically follows a bunch of players from the hockey team, and as you know, things progress, they end up kind of like coupling up with various girls for various reasons, and each book focuses on a different set of couple. And I honestly think that the first one was definitely my favorite. I really adored the 2 of them. I mean, to be honest, I would say the first 3 books were probably my favorite in terms of the couples. The 4th one, which is The Goal, I was like, it just didn't have that same appeal. I don't know if it's because they met at like different circumstances or whatever, but I definitely think the first 3 were like my favorite in terms of the couples compared to the fourth book. And I also want to pick up the fifth book actually, because this is basically an epilogue of all the couples. So this is something that I've always wanted, is that, you know, after the happily ever after, you know, like you kind of get like a few glimpses of the relationships in next books, in subsequent books, but you never get like a full on like this is what happens, you know, after graduation or whatever. But this book actually focuses on all four now, and it goes into 3 years of real life after graduation. So I'm so excited for it. I cannot wait to read that one actually. So yeah, anyways, I highly recommend this series if you have not picked this up already. Then this next one is not really a romance per se, but there is a romance in it, and I really like the romance, and that is the Winter Night Trilogy. This is a fantasy Russian folklore book, very whimsical, very beautifully written. It's set in like Russia, and I am here to recommend this to you guys as a romance because I adore the romance. It is very much a slow burn, one of those like gods and like human mortal kind of relationships. I loved it. Like I thought the romance was incredibly well done. I loved their relationship from the beginning when, you know, he just couldn't help himself to like help her, and there's just so much about the two of them that I absolutely adored. And I don't know, even though this is technically a fantasy and I would say the romance is not a huge part of this book, but it's a big enough part of it for me to just really fall in love with the characters even more. So that's why I'm recommending to you guys. But this is not a like what you consider as a typical or a traditional romance. This is mostly fantasy with romance on the side. And then of course my last and final book that I want to recommend to you guys is Love Hypothesis. This actually made it to my top books of the year, so I will link that above and down below so check that out. But I love this book. I thought it was incredibly well done. I love the characters, their banter with each other, their dynamic. So this book basically follows a PhD student who is, you know, going through her PhD right now, and she ends up meeting a young professor, and the two of them just hit it off. And first of all, it's like a fake dating situation where due to circumstances she asks him to kind of like fake date because of their friend situation, and so the two of them pretend to fake date, but of course as time goes by they end up actually catching feelings. And honestly, it was the most adorable thing in the world. I just love their relationship. There's everything about the two of them were just so cute, mainly because the guy, the professor, was like socially awkward, but in like the most adorable way. And he's one of those guys who like don't even notice other girls except for her, you know what I mean? And like that's like, it was just everything, guys. Like I just loved it. I love the relationship. I also love like the steamy scene as well. And there is actually a sequel to this book, but I don't think it follows the two of them specifically. It follows, I want to say like they're friends or something. Okay, so over here that it's supposed to be a new STEMinist rom-com where a scientist is forced to work on a project with her nemesis with explosive results. So I believe it just follows like two completely different characters. I don't know if they are, I want to say like they are kind of introduced in the first book, but I don't really remember. Anyways, point is though, there's a sequel. I'm excited for it. I can't wait to see what else this author has in store in terms of this romance, because clearly she writes really good romances. Like it hits all the points in terms of like for me at least, like what I want for a guy, and her books do that. So anyways, those are all the books I want to recommend this time around. I am hoping that next year when I do another, or whenever I do my next romance recommendations video, which I hope to do again in the future, there'll be a lot more books this time and not just 5, because I had to really think about which books to recommend. A lot of them were just like Love Hypothesis was like an easy one. Off Campus was an easy one as well. And the Winter Night Trilogy, I was like, well, this is kind of a stretch, but like I do love the romance in there. And then One Last Stop in a Full Love Story, where like I really enjoyed it, but there were still like aspects to it I'm like, okay, like it's not like amazing, but I still want to recommend it because it's good in its own right as a romance. But yeah, anyways, I'm hoping that next year I'll have more recommendations for you guys. But that's all to say for this video. And as always, if you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. I really just help out my channel. And if you can see more content of me, please don't hesitate to subscribe down below, as well as hit the notification bell. And as always, don't forget to follow me on Twitter and Instagram, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.